In 2007, one of the most notorious incidents of the Iraq War era took place. 14 Iraqi civilians killed in a crowded traffic circle in downtown Baghdad, shot to death by 4 Americans working on behalf of the State Department for the private security firm Blackwater. Nicholas Slatton, a former Army sniper from Tennessee, was found guilty of first-degree murder last October. He's now been sentenced by a federal judge in Washington to life in prison for firing the opening shots. The other 3, Dustin Hurd of Tennessee, Evan Liberty of New Hampshire, and Paul Slough of Texas, were given 30 years each. Lawyers for the 4 men said they'd opened fire because they thought they were under attack by insurgents, and said the dead civilians, some of whom had been shot in the back, were unfortunate, unintended casualties of war. Prosecutors, on the other hand, called the killing a massacre of innocent people. In court on Monday, 100 of the former Guard's supporters, many in tears, described them as small-town men who deeply loved their families and their country.
At any other point in history, these men would be held up as heroes, but instead they're being imprisoned to what amounts to life sentences for defending themselves and their teammates in the most dangerous place on earth.
But the judge, who also broke down at one point, said wild and unprovoked shooting could never be condoned. The case became a test of accountability for private security contractors operating on behalf of the US in Iraq and elsewhere. Blackwater, which initially changed its name to Z and is now known as Academy, has reportedly received over $1 billion in contracts from the State Department since the 2007 shootings. Some argue that the jailing of 4 men does not mean that there's sufficient transparency, oversight and accountability for military contractors.
Even though these sentences have been handed down, the government won with some novel legal theories in terms of aiding and abetting. They didn't actually prove their case in terms of individual culpability, and it's quite likely that might be challenged in an appeal.
Many see the case as a victory for the U.S. justice system, even in a war zone, despite taking 8 years to complete. The judge commended the government for, quote, finding and exposing the truth of what happened.